Hi, I'm Brian Smith, and I'm here to introduce the GaiaMoto programmable temperature controller from Grizzly Controls. I've been designing controllers for about 4 years and marketing through the mydpcstore.com interface. This new temperature controller has been an evolution of working with our customers over those 4 years, and we've tried to introduce two main concepts with this new controller. One, we wanted it to be a lot easier to configure and use for our customers. And two, we wanted to optimize the hardware to make it easier for retrofit applications. And so in the next part of the video, we'll be looking at the hardware and the software interfaces and see how we accomplish that. This is the GaiaMoto programmable temperature controller. It has 7 external temperature inputs. These can be configured for NTC 10K Type 2, 3, as well as PTC 1K sensors and PT 1000 sensors. This makes it handy for doing retrofit applications because it can adapt to a lot of different types of temperature sensors already out and installed. It has an external powering interface that we use with the sensor adapter modules. There's a sensor adapter that lets you read whether AC or DC voltages are present. There's a sensor adapter available that will let you read analog voltages from 0 to 32 volts into the controller on any of these sensor inputs. You can then log with them or control things with them, just like with if the AC is present. There's also a solar adapter sensor and an external relative humidity sensor you can bring into the unit. The unit can be powered from 2 different sources, either AC, it can be powered from 12 to 24 volts VAC. So if you have a 24 volt VAC type system out already installed and you want to replace it, this guy can handle that input voltage for powering. He's also got a DC input that'll range from 10 to 32 volts DC. So he's got a wide range DC input as well. There's 4 relay outputs on this unit. They can be configured and controlled with any of the 8 onboard control rules that you configure. Each one can switch up to 5 amp loads, DC or AC. There's a manual trigger button over here on the right side. You can use this to configure and enable a one-shot timer. You can use that to override one of the outputs and control the relay, so you can push that button, and if it's configured for relay 1, it'll turn that relay on for the one-shot timer duration. You can use that for like restarting a wood boiler, for example, things like that. There's an audible alarm here in the left corner. You can configure that to beep whenever any of the whatever configurable output or control rule you assign it to. So if a certain control rule becomes active, it'll beep, or if an output becomes active, it'll beep, depending on how you want to configure it. On the left side, there's a USB interface. You use a straight cable. You don't need a USB to serial adapter or anything to connect to a PC. From there, using our free Moto GUI software, you can configure this controller. You can upload and download configurations to it. You can configure and upload logging information. The GaiaMoto controller has a built-in logger. You can log all 7 inputs as well as all 4 outputs and the onboard sensors. This guy has 4 onboard sensors built onto the unit. He has a temperature sensor, a relative humidity sensor, as well as a dew point calculated sensor, and he can read his voltage input and we'll record and log that as well. Each of the inputs on the unit you can select for the different types. You can also select things like you can configure them as a raw ADD input, for example, if you want to just read voltages. They also have individual calibration, so if you have an old sensor and it seems to be out of spec, it's not reading what you think the real temperature is, and you want to try to calibrate it, you can go into the controller on that input and you can put in a calibration setting to adjust it positive or minus based on your observed or measured temperatures. The controller has pluggable terminals that so you can wire these up externally and then just plug them on, so there's nothing hardwired to the unit. So this makes it easy to switch it out and also to wire it up when you're installing it. The controller has up to 8 different control rules, and we'll also do multi-control type functions, so you can combine control rules to control one temp sensor. So it can control things based on differential temperatures. That's a type of control rule. It can control things like a heat or a cool thermostat. It has an onboard real-time clock, and you can use it to control things based on the time of day. So if you want something to turn on at 6 a.m. and turn off at 6:30, you can use a control rule to do that. You can also combine controls, so I could combine a timer control rule with a differential controller, for example. And any combinations you want, it's very configurable. If you want to learn more about how you can configure it, you can go onto our website at www.grizzlycontrols.com and download our free Moto GUI application. Although you won't be able to connect to a unit because you don't have a unit perhaps, but you will be able to configure a control rule and also download our easy configs from the website. We have easy configs for most applications that people want to run, whether it's solar hot water heating, solar air heating, thermostat rules. You can download them, you can adjust them to whatever your unique configuration is, and save them off on your computer. And when you get a unit, you can program them right in with one click of a button, and it's ready to go.